Well, Sami Al-Arian joins us now from here in Istanbul. He's the director of the Centre for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul Zaim University. Sami, thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour. So what's your reading of the situation then generally in the Middle East? We have a ceasefire which is fragile in Lebanon, although hopes of something similar happening in Gaza appear to be way off.
It doesn't seem to be a permanent ceasefire. It seems to be a 6-day truce. And there are many things that need to be taken into consideration. Israel went into its adventure in Lebanon seeking several objectives, some political, some military. It wanted to defeat Hezbollah completely in Lebanon. That failed. It wanted to push Hezbollah to the north side of the Litani River. That failed. It wanted to create a buffer zone by occupying parts of the south. That failed. It wanted to bring back its settlers, tens of thousands of settlers, to the north. That was not realized. It wanted also to disarm Hezbollah, and that didn't happen. So many of the objectives, the political and military objectives of Israel, haven't been realized. What's happening here is that Israel fought Hezbollah to a point where it was getting and having much losses, considerable losses, hundreds of soldiers, tens of thousands of injuries, as well as almost 8,800 residences have been harmed or completely destroyed, about 7,000 vehicles, including many tanks and so on and so forth, industrial places, farms, and so on. So it realized eventually that it cannot defeat Hezbollah, and therefore it agreed to this truce. Now, whether that truce would hold or not remains to be seen, because it's threatening that at one point it can go back. And I think Hezbollah also is not going to withdraw from the south until Israel fulfills the conditions of 1701. It wanted actually to also modify 1701, United Nations Security Council 1701, which called for both sides to do certain things. Hezbollah to move to the north of Litani, and Israel to withdraw from certain Lebanese territories, such as Shab'afar. Israel did not withdraw, and therefore Hezbollah did not withdraw. Now it's up to the negotiators, who say that they will try to demarcate the borders. So if Israel eventually withdraws from the Shab'a farms, that would be a considerable achievement for Hezbollah. But if it doesn't, then Hezbollah is not going to withdraw to the north of the Litani. So there's a lot to be said here. And whether that truce will hold after 60 days remains to be seen. The only remaining part, called the unity of the fronts, because Hezbollah joined this fight back on October the 8th of 2023 as a support front for Gaza. Now, it was able to draw about 1/3 of the Israeli army. It was a low-intensity warfare until Israel decided to invade Lebanon in the beginning of last October. And therefore, that was taking a considerable or some pressure from Gaza. That question remains to be seen. Whether Israel could actually redeploy these forces to Gaza is doubtful, because this truce could not be guaranteed to hold. And therefore, still a third of the army would still be in the north. And I think now Gaza is on its own until we see what happens. But Gaza and the resistance in Gaza have decided that they're going to remain steadfast. They will continue to battle Israel in a war of attrition until Israel stops its aggression, and then you could have some sort of a deal for the captives.
Yeah, so a respite in Lebanon rather than a resolution. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, the military campaign of Israel continues in Gaza. Joe Biden said after the ceasefire, the temporary ceasefire was agreed for Lebanon, that he, along with regional players, would make a renewed push for a ceasefire and a hostage release deal in Gaza. Although Qatar, one of those key mediators, pulled out some weeks ago because both sides, it said, were remaining too far apart.
True, but the United States is not a neutral bystander or an honest broker here. The United States have been on the side of Israel all along. It is the party that is financing, funding, protecting Israel, and it's trying to achieve politically what Israel couldn't achieve militarily. And therefore, it's not clear whether the United States really want a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire, an Israeli withdrawal in Gaza in order to reach a deal. What Biden and his administration want is basically to get the captives without paying the price needed for it. They want still to defeat Hamas. They want to obliterate the resistance in Gaza. They want Israel to have, quote unquote, total victory. And as long as this is the objective, that's not going to happen. So if they are truly sincere, they can, end this war, shut it down tomorrow by telling Israel enough is enough, that we can get all the captives, whoever is still alive, tomorrow out if you simply withdraw after all this destruction that you wreaked on Gaza, and that we could also have the aid coming into the Palestinians who have been under this tremendous Israeli genocidal war for the past 13, 14 months.
Okay, Sami, thank you for the moment. I appreciate you coming on the programme. Sami Al-Arian there, joining us live from here in Istanbul.